So we are starting with a bolster, a blanket, a strap, 2 blocks, and a mat. And maybe we'll use the wall, we're not sure. We'll see how things go. So everybody is going to start in the holy pose, Supta Baddha Konasana. And we're going to take the strap around the outsides of the feet. Try to have the strap so that you can adjust it so that the strap is pulling toward you. And in the back, we are going to take it underneath the hip line. The strap, the function of the strap is to help to keep those heels together. And then we're setting our cork blocks up as we like. I have mine on the highest level, or you can also use a bolster if you like. But I think for today's practice, the cork blocks give us a little bit more feedback, and then we want to position ourselves so that the lower ribs are right where the cork block starts. And then just take a few moments, and you can see I'm playing with my feet here. So it never hurts to take the time to consider the feet. All right, here we are. So let's start to take a few deep breaths together now. Let's take a slow, smooth inhale and take that breath right up into the upper chest, right up through the crease of the armpit chest, lifting through the inhale, slow and smooth. Slow, smooth exhale. Take your time with the breath. Try to completely finish the exhale. So again, slow, smooth inhale. Feel free to drag the breath along the back of the throat to create a small sound that only you can hear. That's called the Ujjayi breath. Or you can keep your breath soft. Slow, smooth exhale. Try to completely finish the exhale. Breathing deeply to feel the movement the breath brings to the body. See if you can start to press through the outer back heel and start to look for that line of awareness along the outside of the foot into the baby toes. And then let's spread the toes wide. Try to start to spread the toes. Start to keep those toes spreading. So our first inclination is to spread them and then release them. See if you can keep them actively spreading as you press through the outsides of the feet. Start to feel a sense of the inner thighs reaching towards the knees as they externally roll out. And let's take the hands to the elbows, and let's reach the elbows up and overhead. So pressing through the heels, see if you can widen the outermost forearm away from the center line of the body. So using the breath to create that space from the inside out. Slow, smooth exhale. Try to make that exhale the same length as the inhale. So widen from the center of the armpit out to the sides. See if you can feel the outermost shoulder blade, the outer scapulas widening away from each other. Allow the inner shoulder blades, the insides of those scapulas, to draw in and up towards the spine. Breathe deeply. Fullness in the breath creates space in the body. So as you inhale, again, think about lifting the armpit chest towards the elbows, and at the same time, dropping the back of the shoulders down away from the ears, continuing that sense of lift and opening through the front. And then let's start to draw the lower ribs down towards the hips. So feel a sense of the lower ribs dropping and releasing in the opposite direction down towards the pelvis. And now working from the center of the buttocks, see if you can take your sits bones towards the lower ribs. So start to create that connection between the ribs and the pelvis. Allowing the breath to create that connection. Starting to let go now of that ongoing conversation that we're carrying inside. See if you can allow the breath to lead the effort now. Let's take the elbows back down. And let's change the clasp of the hands to the elbows as you reach the elbows up and overhead. Gently drawing the outermost arm away from the center line of the body. Widening from the center of the armpit chest out to the sides. Lower ribs down towards the hips. And see if you can create that sense of working your sits bones up towards your lower ribs. So we're scooping the pelvis in and under. We're tucking the tailbone. Good. So that's all. Reach the arms out to the T position. And as you press through the heels, that's inhale and lift through the crease of the armpit chest. So feel the front crease of the armpit lifting through the inhale. And continue that sense of lifting through the front through the exhale as you release only the back of the shoulders down away from the ears. So we continue that sense of lifting through the front all the way through the exhale, just releasing the back of the shoulders down away from the ears. And now see if you can tighten the muscles of the arms around the bone. So tighten the biceps and the tricep muscles around the bone. And maybe deepen that journey of awareness. See if you can feel the skin tighten around the flesh of the arms. Breathe deeply, allowing the mind to fall away. Good. And then we're going to slowly make our way up here, and we're going to keep the strap on and just take the blocks away. And if your head is close to the wall, just scooch a little further forward. And let's come down and see if you can tighten your strap a little more, and let's lay flat on the back and start to draw the belly down, start to drop the lower back down towards the floor. Good. So let's all feel the center of the buttocks. So feel the two sides. Feel the two sits bones. Feel the center of the buttocks growing roots through the earth. So we feel this sense of the thighs rolling out, externally rotating out. And we can feel the action of tucking the pelvis in and under. But there's a second action as we work from the hip along the top of the thigh out through the kneecaps. This helps to release the knees down towards the floor. And it's an untucking to isolate the pelvis. So there's two actions. There's a tucking of the tailbone as the thighs roll out. And there's a second untucking of the pelvis as we feel a sense of lengthening from the hip bone along the top of the thigh out through the kneecaps. And this starts to create space through the front from the lower ribs to the hips as those hip bones microscopically migrate forward towards the heels. So we're creating space through the front as well as from the lower ribs down towards the buttocks in the back. So feel that tucking action, feel that external rotation of the thighs rolling out, and at the same time lengthening along the top of the thighs, energetically out through the kneecaps to create that second action to isolate the pelvic floor, creating space in both the front and the back torso. See if you can create that sense now of lifting your sits bones off the floor without letting the buttocks leave the ground. Really working from your pelvis. Breathe deeply, full body breaths. So feel a sense of new life coming to the body through the inhale. That's the life force, the prana. Start to find a sense of letting go now through your exhale. Completely finishing that exhale. Feel that breath pass right out through the sits bones. Feel that sense of letting go. The body's natural tool of letting go of tension through the exhale. Very nice, everybody. So we're going to slowly make our way up and out of the pose. And just use your bar and just move your bar away from you. We're going to come back to the strap. And let's just take a little break so that we don't get too chilly in here. Let's just take the blocks like so. And we're going to just take a simple Adho Mukha Virasana. So child's pose with the arms extended forward. But take a look, we're going to support the head and we're going to cup the corners of the block with the instep of the thumb and index finger. Knees wide, toes together, and always take a moment just to see where you're at. So that power of observation is huge and it can help to minimize the natural imbalances that we have going in the body. That's it. So see if you can stretch your arms so that the elbows are straight and create that sense of drawing the outer forearms in towards each other. And let's press the palms down to the floor, push your hips down towards your heels, and see if you can feel that inhale lift up and over the thighs as the belly lifts, the sternum lifts, the chest reaches towards the palms. And I'm just going to walk around and take a look at y'all. Good. So see if you can breathe into my hands. Lift and break my hands. Lift your belly and your ribs up and over the thighs. Breathe deeply, everybody. Start to let go of all of those thoughts and opinions. This is one of those great poses in life. That's it. So we breathe into those upper back ribs. Try to lift the belly up and over the thighs to create that length through the front. Use your hands to push your hips and sits bones down towards the heels. Breathe deeply. Fullness in the breath. Space in the body. So this is how we measure the distance between our hands and feet for downward dog. For Adho Mukha Svanasana. So we're just going to keep that measurement and let's slowly lift the hips up here. And let's tuck the toes in and under for our first downward dog. So take a look right away at your toes and see if you can make your feet so that the outsides of the feet are parallel. So the toes typically need to turn slightly in. And then let's lift the kneecaps and the upper thighs up. So pull those kneecaps, pull those thighs up. And see if you can start to take your heels down towards the floor. So spread through the base of the foot as you create length, narrowing through the back of the heels. Start to feel that connection of the feet through the earth, growing roots through the base of the foot, lengthening through the back of the heel, working up the legs, the kneecaps lift, the thighs lift. And then let's draw the shoulders down away from the ears so the inner creases of the elbows roll up. And let's take the outer forearms in. Good. So here's the real work. We want to start to create that sense of length through the side body, working toward getting those outer heels down towards the floor. So without allowing your hips and your sacrum to come forward, slowly lift your heels ever so slightly, pulling your hips and buttocks back. And then let's take those heels down towards the floor. Kneecaps lift. Good. So we want to start to feel a sense of those inner thighs rolling in, working those thighs, working those legs. So right where the back of that kneecap is, see if you can spread from the center of the butt of the kneecap out to the sides, and then release your knees into that space you created, pressing your heels down. Nice. Beautiful. Fullness in the breath. Good. That's it. Drop your shoulders down. Lift your kneecaps up. That's it. Good job. So the more you use your legs, the longer the pose will last. Great job. Okay. So let's walk the hands towards the feet and let's come into a forward fold. So the feet should be slightly wider than the hips, and see if you can stack your hips above your knees. If you cannot bring your hands to the floor, you would just bring your hands onto some blocks. So let's bring the hips so that they're right on top of the knees and the knees are right on top of the ankles. And see if you can lift those kneecaps up. So again, the toes turn in, so there's an internal rotation at the head of the femur bone. Try not to have your hips behind your heels. So bring the weight further forward into the balls of the feet and then press your heels down, lift your kneecaps up. Good. Just for fun, see if you can keep your heels on the ground, and then let's walk the hands forward into downward dog again. So take your time, see how you go, and then press those heels down. Try to create that sense of lengthening through the sides as you pull your hips, pull your buttocks back. And then maybe walk your hands a little bit further forward and lift those kneecaps, press those heels. Take a look at your hands and feet to make sure everything's nicely balanced. Good job. See if you can tuck your sits bones down towards your heels. Draw your lower ribs down towards your hips. Kneecaps up. Good job, you guys. And then let's drop the knees down. So that's just to keep us warm. Let's all come up now and just bring your big toes together. Just a little bit of footwork, nothing too serious, guys. Okay? And then let's bring the inner heels together, big toes together touching. Let's open the knees and start to press your inner heels down. So we're pressing through the big toes, pressing through the inner heels. Press your inner heels down. Open your knees. So you see we're starting to work toward getting those knees right in the placement of the underarms. Pressing your inner heels down, pressing your big toes down. Lift your belly. So eventually we could come into Bakasana, the crow pose. It's lots of fun. So the more you get your knees into your armpits, and then you have a chance of somehow getting those arms straight in the end, and then you can just lift if you wanted to. Whoop, maybe. Just give it a shot, you guys. But at least this is the precursor. Getting those knees wide, pressing those inner heels down. You might fall on the head. And then try and straighten those arms. Good job. Good job. Okay, so let's bring the knees together and down to the floor. So we want to keep those toes tucking in and under. We're just going to take a moment here. And let's bring the right hand to the center of the back. Left hand to the right elbow. So release that right forearm down into the socket. And then start to draw that right forearm out to the side. And now tighten the muscles of the arm around the bone to lock that shoulder down in place. So we're opening through the upper chest, but the lower ribs are dropping down towards the hips. Lift your belly. Inner ankles in towards each other. And then let's thank God we only have two sides. So let's release. And let's take the left hand to the center. Take your right hand to the left elbow. Try to draw that left forearm out to the side after you release it into its shoulder socket. So create that connection and then start to open it out to widen that shoulder blade. Good. So we're working toward planting those shoulder blades closer to the spine so they don't wing out. Take a break at any time. Good job, you guys. Okay, so let's release. Let's untuck the toes and just tap the tops of the feet. Woo. And then let's sit inside the ankles and just grab the tops of your feet and let's stretch the tops of the feet here. So just tip forward, try to press through the tops of your ankles. Sitting inside those ankles if you can. Woo-wee. Pressing down through the tops of the ankles. So we're lengthening and opening through the front of the body here. Good. So let's just come up here. So if you can sit comfortably just for a moment in Virasana. In fact, let's all grab a strap and let's all come and sit on our block. So let's place that block so that it's lengthwise underneath both sits bones. So this would be our pose Virasana. Just take your hands and see if you can press down through the tops of your toes to try and iron out the feet. And think about scooping your pelvis, scooping your sits bones in and under, the belly is lifting. We're pressing through the tops of the ankles. Now see if you can create that sense of lifting your knees off the floor without leaning back. So we're trying to isolate the hips here. This is a classic hip opener. The shoulders are back. The crease of the armpit chest is lifting. The belly and sternum are lifting to support the pose. We're pressing through the tops of the ankles. We're scooping the pelvis in and under, and create that sense of trying to lift your knees. So these are the types of poses that you can practice at home. Throw your couch away. You're watching TV. Okay, so we are going to work down. Everybody's going to take their strap and just close the loop. So just close your loop. And if for some reason you need to take a break and release your leg onto the block, feel free. So we're going to take the right leg forward and just take the strap around the ball of the right foot. And now everybody, bend your elbows and draw your elbows back so that you're lifting and the spine is in extension. So we're again lifting through the crease of the armpit chest. The elbows are into the torso, and here comes the hard part. Let's lift the right leg. So see if you can get that right leg dead straight. That's it. So shoulders down, lift through the crease of the armpit chest. Looking ridiculously happy. Good. So lift your right kneecap up. Good. Shoulders down. Try not to tip back. So there's a light grip on the strap. We're not riding a horse. It's a nice light grip. That's it. So this is where we can start to apply a little bit of that theory if we wanted to. At some point, we can start to feel some aggravation somewhere in the body, correct? So this is where you can start to create a boundary around that pain. Create a boundary around that pain. So you'll notice the mind will resist. Insist upon it. Draw that boundary, maybe even start to close that boundary down, making that area smaller and smaller. So we can continue on forever on this pose, but we won't do that today. So let's release the leg and just move the strap off to the side. It's up to you if you want to stay here. We're just folding forward in Triangupada Paschimottanasana, or you can come flat. So whatever suits you. It's your decision on where the height is for you. And you can see I'm just going to adjust that sits bone. So just untuck that right sits bone, and I'm dropping the inner left groin down. And because this is not one of my strong suits, because I'm a stiffy, I've got this right hand and I'm starting to use it so that I'm not tipping. And we want to work toward making this right leg nice and balanced. So the inner right thigh is cutting, the front of the thigh is drawing straight down into the back, the outer right hip, and we're just folding forward here. Good. So if you reach the ball of that right foot forward, this is the Dandasana leg. This will help to release the back of that right thigh down. And this right thigh is gripping the right thigh bone. So the more that muscle adheres to the bone, the better it is for your ligaments and joints. That is youth in a jar. To start to work those muscles, adhering them closer to the bone, to minimize the wear and tear on your ligaments and joints. So we're working to create a deeper crease. So this is where the hinge is and the belly is lifting. So the front, the armpit chest, the sternum is all lifting up. And then hopefully that crease happens and we just eventually fold forward. Breathing to allow the body to receive the breath. Okay, so we're going to continue on in this vein. I'm going to scooch forward here and grab my bolster. And we're going to fold back. So everybody's going to probably shift forward. It's up to you. If you're very flexible, this is going to be a cinch and you won't need any support. I'm going to suggest a bolster to start. And if you would like to come down, and then just take a look here. We're going to bend the right leg and to come down. If you need to lift that knee, do so. And then you want to create the support from the lower ribs up so that there is space here from the lower ribs down towards the buttocks. The right foot is on the floor. This is your director. And this helps to stop this left knee from winging out to the side. And this is the work here. So see if you can come on down in Ardha Supta Virasana. And the more you start to press your right heel and drag your right sits bone towards the heel, the more you're scooping your pelvis in and under. If for some reason the left knee is off the ground, you can always use a blanket or some support. Good job, everybody. Nicely done. Okay, good. So see if you can draw that left knee in a little bit further. Start to feel a sense of pressing through that right heel. So draw the right knee in, that's it, good. Good job. Start to draw the lower ribs down towards the hips. So as you press through this right heel, you can feel that right sits bone drawing towards the inner left thigh. And let's just take the hands to the elbows and just reach the elbows up and overhead for a moment, or even take your hands back to the wall. Start to feel a sense of scooping, tucking both your sits bones in and under. You can even take your left hand and press it through the back of that left heel. This will further help the tucking action in this left side. Good. So tuck, tuck, tuck. Press through that right heel, and if you feel that you would like to come down without the bolster, feel free. Or if you need more support, then you might come up a level. So you might put blocks underneath either the bolster or lay directly over blocks. Good job, everybody. Breathe to create that stillness inside. This is what starts to erase all of that clutter in the mind. The more you breathe, the more you activate the left prefrontal cortex. This is your feel-good center. So when you're ready, let's start to make our way up here. Nice and easy. So just take that right knee in and under, and moving everything off. Let's just take a downward dog. So let's measure the distance between our hands and feet. So the knees are apart, feet together. Let's stretch the arms forward in Adho Mukha Virasana. Take a moment just to check and see that everything is nicely symmetric so that you do not further the natural imbalances that come over time. Good, and then let's tuck the toes in and under. We're not here for a long time, just a good time. So just taking a moment out to flush. Let's look at the feet. So turn those toes in so the outsides of the feet are parallel to the mat. Let's lift the kneecaps, lift the tops of the thighs, reach your hips back. So feel that length coming through the sides of the body. Shoulders down away from the ears, and see if you can feel a sense of drawing the outer forearms in. Outer upper forearms in to lock those shoulders down. Feel your lower ribs drawing towards your hips as your armpit chest reaches towards your hands. And then tuck your sits bones down towards your heels, spreading through the base of the foot. Let's lengthen those heels back. Take those heels to the ground. Good. So just give it a shot. See if you can, without allowing your hips and your sacrum to come forward, slowly lift your heels. Pull your hips back as you lift your heels, and then take your heels down to the floor. Lift your kneecaps up. Good job, you guys. Let's come down. So that's grab the block. Take it lengthwise so it's underneath both of your sits bones. And then let's take the strap and let's wrap it around the ball of the left foot. And let's bend those elbows, bring the elbows into the torso. Lift through the crease of the armpit chest. Try to lift that left kneecap up so the leg is not bent. So if you need to accommodate and your strap needs to be super long to get that leg straight, see if you can spread the toes. It's harder than it looks, isn't it? Great. So lift from your sits bones. Lift and lengthen so the spine is in that nice extension. Maybe you can even spread your toes. And if you cannot maintain this, you can always bring the leg onto a block and just work the kneecap and the thigh to start. Just start to feel a sense of intelligizing that leg. Every cell has intelligence. So we're bringing the leg to life. And we use the breath to lead the effort. The mind starts to fall away. And we no longer have an opinion or a thought about what we're doing. No conclusions, no boundaries, no limitations. We're just free and clear. Moksha, freedom. Freedom that comes from the breath. That's it. Looking ridiculously happy. We only have two sides. So I try and draw those elbows in. So bend those elbows. That's it. So is everybody feeling their hips? Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So I don't want to torture you for too long. So it's up to you. Let's take the leg down now. And you're going to decide on the height. I like to take a blanket underneath the left sits bone. And just make sure that that right knee isn't turning out and you're sitting inside the ankle. And you can see here by taking my right thumb to the instep of the inner right ankle and the four fingers to the outer right ankle, I can start to create some length through the instep as I draw the outer ankle in, theoretically. And then let's start to fold forward here. So you can adjust that sits bone by untucking it. Try to keep the leg so that it's in line. So lifting the kneecap, lifting the thigh, dropping the inner right groin down. We create this hinge by lifting through the belly and the sternum, lifting through the sides as well. So that length through the side body is exceptionally important. We want to avoid jamming the sacrum into the lower back. So it's very much a sense of lifting and lengthening from the sides of the body. And you can see I'm using my left hand to try and keep myself in center, in line. Just observing. We're starting now to feel a sense of that observation where we're completely present. The breath is leading the effort. We just let the breath perform its duty. The breath is the natural negotiator of tension in the body. And the more you let the mind go and focus on your breath, the better you'll feel at the end of your yoga practice. So that's a big part of the yoga, is to start to let the mind go. All right. So let's slowly come up. So we're going to take that left foot to the floor. So just take the left foot to the floor. And again, if you have to scooch forward, we're coming into Ardha Supta Virasana. And if you need to lift the knee up, try to have the support so that it's right around the lower rib area, so that the belly and the torso are somewhat free. And then we start to work toward tucking the tailbone in and under. So as mentioned before, if your knee is flying high, you want to create some support so that you can lengthen that quadricep and use the resistance underneath. So you can see how I'm lifting the knee to start. And I've got this left leg as the director. And I'm tucking this right sits bone in and under, pressing through the left heel. If you'd like to take your arm overhead, either by reaching your hands to your elbows or the hands to the wall, and then start to feel a sense of those lower ribs drawing down towards the hips. Lower ribs to the hips, hips to the lower ribs, lengthening from the top of that thigh, energetically out through the kneecap. And again, you can take your right hand into the right heel, and this can further that action of scooping the right side of the pelvis in and under. Remember, the left heel is working to draw that left sits bone towards the inner right thigh. So everybody, tuck, tuck, tuck. Lift your belly. Let the breath lead the effort. Good job, you guys. So these are poses that can be done on their own at home so that you can start to further some depth. You can spend hours in these poses if you like. Okay, so let's start to slowly make our way out. Oof. And now let's all take our blocks. Midway, we're going to do a downward dog with the ropes. What do you say? All right. It's sort of awkward for me having you guys to my left here because I can't really see you. I need to see you guys. But anyhow, let's all come up to standing. And let's take the ropes and just cross the ropes like so. So let's take the right foot and thread it through the rope you're holding with the left hand. Turn away from the wall. And let's take the left foot through. That's it. No. Okay, there we go, good. And then let's scooch forward. So the benefit of having the blocks is this can help to open the upper chest to start. And let's take the heels halfway up the wall, feet wide. And let's take the hands so that the palms are flat to the blocks. And let's walk the blocks forward and start to press through the heels as we release the head and chest. So do your best to gently start to connect those palms by actively pressing the palms to the blocks and then drawing those outer forearms in. And then let's use the breath here as we press through the heels. Let's inhale and lift the armpit chest towards the hands. So feel that sense of length coming from the heels as you actively press your heels to the wall. And now let's start to take the lower ribs towards the hips. So you've got two directions here to open the chest. The armpit chest is reaching forward to the hands, the lower ribs is drawing towards the hips to create this opening in the upper thoracic spine. So press through those heels one more time, stretch your armpit chest towards the hands, lower ribs towards the hips. And now let's tuck the sits bones in and under, taking the sits bones down towards the heels. Good job. Let's roll the blocks toward us one level as we drop them down. And let's press the blocks away again, pressing through the heels, drop your head and chest. And as you press through those heels, inhale, lift the chest towards the hands, lower ribs to the hips, sits bones to the heels. So as we drop the blocks down in level, we start to bring the work further and further into the legs. But at least we've opened the upper chest, because eventually in downward dog, the head comes to the floor, provided we're in this nice spinal extension. This waterfall spine where the hips are nice and high. That's the value of the ropes, is that the hips are high even if you've got some restriction in your hamstrings. So let's move those blocks entirely away. And let's take the palms and just make sure that everything's nice and symmetric. Palms flat to the floor. Now we can start to really feel the work in the lower half of the body as we press actively through the heels, tucking those sits bones in and under. Let's take the right hand to the left leg as you look underneath the left armpit. So press through that right heel, tuck that right sits bone in and under, and then inhale, lift through the crease of the armpit chest. Good, following through the exhale. So completely finish the exhale. Let's take the right hand back to meet the left. And now pressing through that left heel, scooping that left sits bone in and under. Let's take the left hand to the right leg, looking underneath the right armpit. So again, use the inhale to lift and lengthen through the side body. Feel that left sits bone tucking in and under as you actively press that left heel into the wall. Let's take the left hand back to meet the right. Just come up onto your fingertips. So really stretch and lengthen the spine from your heels, creating that two-dimensional stretch for the spine. And then let's walk the hands to the feet, feet to the hands. Good job, you guys. All righty. How are we doing? Okay. So, yeah, on this dreary day, I think this is going to really pay off for us all. Okay, you guys. So, let's take the blanket and just bring it right to the wall, edges facing inwards. Or actually, I changed my mind. Just make sure that there's a nice connection between your blanket and the wall. And then you're all going to just take a quick peek here. I'm going to take my blocks to the highest level. And then I'm going to take the right knee to the wall and slide the right knee down. That's it. So take the right knee to the wall and then slide the right knee down. Good. Let's step the left foot forward. And let's start to come up if you can. So this right foot is on the outer right hip, and you can actually press that hand down into that right heel. This can further that right sits bone tucking in and under. And then eventually we're taking the hips towards the wall. That's it, Allie. So this left sits bone is dropping down towards that inner right thigh. If you'd like to go a little further, you can reach your arms up. Or link the thumbs, honey. Link your thumbs, that's it, link your thumbs. And see if you can drop your lower ribs down towards your hips, hips towards your lower ribs. So you're ever so slightly forward on that right patella. So you're not right on the kneecap, you're ever so slightly forward, and hopefully it's falling in behind the blanket. Lower ribs down towards the hips, tuck, tuck, tuck. So if you wanted to go a little further, you could, only if you feel like you're up for it. See if you can take the left leg forward. So only if you're up for it. See if you can. And you see I'm walking my blocks towards me, and I'm slowly taking the left leg forward. So it's a similar theme. You guys were just doing these poses from different vantage points. See if you can lift that left kneecap, reach through the ball of the left foot. Intelligizing that left leg. So we're opening this area here, the pelvic floor, the #1 disease center for both genders. This is #2, and they are connected. They are definitely connected. Okay, you guys. Let's start to come out. Let's start to take that left foot out. Now everybody take a look here how I come out. I bring my left knee down, right knee forward. Good. It's a bit torturous, eh? Yeah. Okay, let's take the left knee to the wall, and let's slide that left knee down. Good. So the two sides may be entirely different, so try not to have too much thought about something you've done before. So coming into something as though you've never done it before is always a nice way to approach something. There's no influence from the past, so the present isn't influenced by the past, and therefore either is the future. And then see if you can start to come up. So we're still lifting through that crease of the armpit chest. The sits bones are still tucking in and under. This right sits bone is dropping towards that inner left thigh. The left hand can come into that left heel to further that action of tucking the left side of the pelvis in and under. And we can reach the arms up, opening through the armpit chest. So this is a double back bend. Further and further towards the wall, taking your hips towards the wall if you can. So you can see that hypermobility in my back really creates that sense of poking the lower ribs out. So I'm now spending the next 10 years trying to drop the lower ribs in without collapsing my upper chest. So it's an ongoing dilemma. It's a never-ending journey of awareness. And the good news is the more time you spend with yourself, the more knowledge you'll have, the more power you'll have to resolve those issues, those pathologies that start to gain ground over time. So we are rewriting the memories of the body. We're creating new muscle memories, removing the natural imbalances that linger, that exist. Whew. Okay, so if you can go to that second stage, feel free. And if you're not ready for it, no worries. Every day is different, I might add. And then let's come on up and see if you can start to, so the right leg is working toward Hanumanasana, the splits, and the left leg is in Ardha Virasana. And then we're lifting through the crease of the armpit chest. Trying to reach the ball of that right foot forward. Whoo-wee. Good job, you guys. That's it. Breathe to create that freedom in the mind, in the body. I am not the mind, I am not the body. Okay, and then that start to slowly come out. Good job, everybody. Woo-wee. Let's bring the right leg forward. So we all know what's next. Let's take the bolster 3/4 of the way forward and just take your blocks like so. And you might have your strap like so. Now it depends on how open your hips are. You can also add a blanket or not. And that's just, let's tuck the toes in and under and come into downward dog. And let's lift the right leg up the wall, left heel down. So reverse splits. The more you press your right foot into the wall to draw the right heel back and drop the left heel down, lifting the left kneecap up, the deeper your splits will go. So try not to open the hip. Try to have your hip square. Left heel down, left kneecap up, press through the ball of the right foot, drawing the right heel towards the wall. And let's take the right knee forward all the way over the bolster. So the right foot is right in front of the bolster. And you can see that I've got my hands on the highest level of the block. So we want to further this back bend. We don't want to come forward into a forward bend. Ekapada Rajakapotasana is a back bend. And then let's flex this right foot. So we lengthen through the Achilles of the right heel, but the foot is soft so we don't harden the groin. But we dig that right heel into the bolster to start to create that connection. Eventually we're drawing the left hip to the right heel and completely creating that connection. So as the left hip draws towards the right heel, draw the right sits bone back towards the left foot, and now press through the top of the left foot and squeeze the left buttocks. So we can feel how this creates that migration of the left hip coming towards the right heel, so that clockwise movement in the pelvic floor. So you see how we start to put the two together. So we did the first quadricep stretch against the wall, and if we wanted to further the pose, we could bend the left leg. We can either catch the foot, so you can see how I'm turning my hand like so, or if you want to have a little fun, you can grab the strap and take it around the left foot. And you can see this helps to open the upper chest as well as we walk the hands down. So eventually, this is the pose and we're grabbing, but I'm not in that place in my body, in this body for certain. And this is where we are. That's it. So try and lift that left elbow up a little. That's it. And then let's slowly release. So there's only one way to come out of this pose. I think it's like this. So just coming back like so. And then let's take that downward dog. And this time let's lift the left leg up, dropping the right heel down, lift the right kneecap up. Let's press through the ball of the left foot as you reach the left heel to the wall. See if you can lift those lower ribs towards your hips. Breathe deeply, fullness in the breath, let the mind go. And let's take the left leg over the bolster. So again, if you need a little height or one side is tighter than the other, the purpose is to create that connection between the left heel and the right hip. So once there is no space, we don't need the props. And then we flex that left heel. The foot is soft so that we don't harden the groin. And then we're coming up. That's it. Shoulders down, lifting through the crease of the armpit chest. See if you can dig that left heel to the bolster. So hug that heel to the bolster. Right hip to the left heel. Pressing through the top of that right foot. So you can see I'm taking a look here to bring that right leg a little further in towards center. And as I press at the top of the right foot, I squeeze that right buttocks. Squeeze the right buttocks. So this is a thigh stretch. This is a forward fold. This is a back bend. This is Ekapada, Rajakapotasana, the pigeon pose. So right hip to the left heel, left sits bone draws back towards the right foot as you actively press through that right foot, squeezing your right buttocks. And if you want to go a little further, you can bend that right leg. So you see how I start to bring my hand forward and the elbow lifts? But I'm not really there. And this right hip is drawing toward that left heel. That's it. So this is much more work than just dropping and folding forward. You can fold forward if you feel like it. But again, this is a much more authentic pigeon pose. So right hip to the left heel, right hip to the left heel. Lift through the crease of the armpit chest, elbow up. So we want to try and keep level in the hips so we're not preferring one side. So if we're tipping too far to the left, then we don't really have a chance of ever coming into the full pose because we would fall over. Okay. Okay. Let's slowly release. And let's take the right leg forward here. Whee. And we're going to do Supta Padangusthasana next. So this is a great pose to prepare the hips for any type of standing pose. So if you need a blanket underneath the head, feel free. And then I'm going to demonstrate. Sometimes it really helps to have a bolster nearby, so we'll see how it goes. And now we're going to scooch and come with our heels against the wall. So this is a little bit tricky. And in order to open the right side, we're going to do the left side first. So that's all. Try and keep your heels active to the wall. And you can see as my knees are slightly bent and I press through the heels, I'm tucking my sits bones in and under, theoretically. And you can always, if you lose that connection with your heels to the wall, just scooch forward and reconnect. So let's start here and let's take the strap around the ball of the left foot. Oops, this may get in the way here, we'll see. And let's just bring the elbows to the floor so the back of the forearms are on the floor. And if it's too much to keep that right heel connected, not to worry. The number one thing to focus on is to press through those forearms, lifting the upper chest, and then without pulling your left hip up. So let's take the left hip so it's in line with the right, and you're working from the center of your buttocks. So that means you cannot pull the leg, because it will pull the left hip and shorten the left side of the spine. We want to keep both sides of the spine equal so that you do not torque your left SI joint. So sometimes Supta Padangusthasana can cause more harm than it's worth. So just be aware of the two hips and keeping them on the same axis, working from the center of the buttocks. Let's press through the forearms, lift through the chest. See if you can start to pull your left hip down towards your right heel. So pull that left hip down towards the right heel so that both hips are in the same line. Good job. So hold that strap and make it lighter and lighter. See if you can let go of the strap. So what's happening is as that left hip draws down and stays in line with the right hip, we can let the hip be heavy and then reach through the ball of the foot to intelligize the leg. So we're bringing this leg to life. So the left hip is drawing down towards the right heel, and then we're reaching through the left heel. See if you can feel a sense of the two hips working together as one, that union, that yoking. Very nicely done, you guys. So now let's take our block and we're going to place that block underneath the left buttocks cheek ever so slightly, and take your left arm straight, reaching it towards the left foot. Now you can see I'm going to have a bolster nearby as well because this is tough stuff. Now see how I'm going to, open the leg, and we're only letting this leg drop so that both of the hips are in line. Both thighs are in the same level. So the leg only drops so far as the right side. So we're opening the right groin here. See if you can have your left arm straight. That's it. And we're pressing through that right heel. The right heel is on the ground. And then we're doing our best not to tip to one side. Takes a little bit of finagling, and you can see I've got the bolster here just in case. So see if you can press through that right heel, feeling that deep stretch in the right groin, and then taking your inner left thigh to your knee, inner left shin to the ankle. So support the leg a little, baby. Oh. Yeah, I've even got this on my elbow. That helped a lot. Put that under your elbow, see if it helps. Does that help? So we want to cut the floor with the right side of the body. So the right side of the body is heavy like a knife to the floor. And we're working the two sides in a sense of balance, in a sense of symmetry. So the right leg is drawing down in exact amount as the left leg is drawing down to the floor. Then slowly lift the left leg up, and we're going to come off the block. Just move the block off to the side. And now release your strap and just take your hands around the back of the left thigh. So try to keep that right leg down to the floor. So the back of that right thigh connects to the floor, and then we take the left thigh into the chest. So that's all. Tuck the left sits bone in and under to draw that thigh to the chest. So we inhale, lift through the crease of the armpit chest, shoulders drop down away from the ears, and the chin is soft to the chest, and then press through the right heel. So there are two actions here, tucking the left sits bone and pressing through the right heel. See if you can do those two actions in a sense of togetherness, in a sense of union or yoking. Uniting all things. No boundaries, no limitations, just the breath. That's your ticket to freedom, moksha. So tuck the left sits bone, using your pelvic floor to draw the thigh closer to the chest. Press through the right heel. And then let's bend that left leg and see if you can take your left hand to the outer left foot. So we take the arm inside. Just do your best. If that's completely inaccessible, slide the hand down. Pressing through the right heel. So draw that left thigh down to the floor. Right thigh down to the floor. Stacking that ankle up top of the knee. Make that left foot flat to the ceiling. Press your right heel, press your left heel. And then let's take the right leg over to the left side of the mat, and let's stack the left knee by bending the left knee on top of the right. So we're trying to bring the two knees together without turning the torso, without hyper extending the lower back, so no hypermobility. See if you can draw the belly down, the lower back down. So bring your right leg over to the left, and then try and drop that knee down. That's it. Very nicely done. Belly down, lower ribs down. That's it. Good job. Good job. So feel a sense of this knee drawing over that, a girl. Nicely done, everybody, with the torsos. Everybody gets an A+. So you've all stayed nice and symmetric, nice and centered. Good, so try to resist turning and twerking. That's it. You got it. See, feel that knee coming over? That, a girl. And then down, that's it. Breathe deeply, nicely done with the whole alignment of the body. So we don't sacrifice one area for another. We move with a sense of love, understanding, and accommodation. So the story is don't progress on one side. You must accommodate both, otherwise you'll just have to go back. Good job, you guys. Let's release. Let's take both heels to the wall. Let's interlace the palms. So we're coming into a supine Tadasana. Tuck, tuck, tuck your tailbone in and under. Let's thank God we only have two sides here, right? So let's take the strap now around the ball of the right foot, and let's move all of our props over to the right in case you need them for a little support, a little love. And let's make sure you're holding the strap in two hands. And then let's bring the elbows to the floor. So we press through the forearms, lift through the chest. And then start to pull that right hip down towards the inner left heel. So we're lengthening the right side so it equals the left side of the spine. We don't want to torque that right SI joint. Feel the center of your buttocks. Have a light grip. So nice and easy does it. That's it. And then use the inhale to lift through the crease of the armpit chest. Pull that right hip down towards the inner left heel on the exhale. See if you can get that leg straighter and straighter. So the more you start to feel a sense of the muscles wrapping around the bone, the more we start to work from the bone out. So pull that right sits bone, pull that right hip down so it's sitting right next to the left. Shoulders down, chin is soft to the chest. So once we feel that that right hip is in line with the left, we can start to let that right hip become heavier and heavier, and then we let go of the strap. So we're reaching up through the right heel, letting the right hip be heavy. So we're intelligizing this right leg. We're bringing the leg to life. We're awakening all of the cells in that leg. It's becoming alive and it needs the breath. So don't stop breathing. See if you can breathe. Allow the breath to move freely through the body. Pressing through that left heel. Feeling the center of your buttocks, lower ribs to the hips. Belly down to the floor. And then let's take the strap. Good job, you guys. So reach the right arm as far towards the foot. Oh, and then let's take the block, sorry. Let's take the block underneath the right hip. Just ever so slightly. And then let's open that right thigh. So we want to keep the legs in line, left heel to the wall. Try not to poke the left side of the body out. So the two sides are as one in the body. Let's lengthen the inner right thigh to the knee. So feel a sense of reaching your inner right thigh to your knee. Inner right shin to the ankle. So as we release the right leg down, we take the left leg down in balance, in symmetry. So there's no preference, no preferential side. That's it, guys. Really nicely done. Breathe deeply. So this is a deep opening in that left groin to help prepare the hips and pelvis for our standing poses. Not today. Press through the left heel. Reach through your heels. So we're opening the pelvic floor. This is the #1 disease center for both genders in North America. #2, upper chest. Let's slowly take that right leg back. Nicely done. Release the strap and the block. Let's draw the thigh to the chest. So if you've lost that connection with the heel to the wall, just scooch a little further forward. Feel the center of the buttocks. Take your hands around the back of the right thigh. And as you inhale, lift through the crease of the armpit chest. Try to tuck the right sits bone in and under as you press through the left heel. So do those two actions together. That union is the yoga, the yoking. And feel how present the mind is. So tuck that right sits bone to draw the thigh closer to the chest. So the more you use your pelvic floor, the less you have to use the arms. And then we actively press the left heel to create those two actions, to allow the two actions to become one. Let's take that right hand and either thread it in and behind. If you can't, just grab like so. But stack that ankle above the knee. Probably I should have a blanket underneath my head. And so here we are. So press that left heel. Try to draw the right thigh down to the floor. Not in my lifetime. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Full body breaths, everybody. Right shoulder down, so the right scapula is drawing right down to the floor. The right thigh is drawing right down to the floor. The left heel presses to the wall. And then let's take that left leg over to the right, and let's take the right knee and stack it above the left. So this is tricky stuff. We're trying to bring the knees together, left leg is over to the right side, and we're not turning the torso, the belly, and the lower back are down. Feeling the center of the buttocks. So if for some reason you couldn't even grab your foot, taking the strap around the foot can be really helpful. How I got a turn strap is beyond me. Because it can stop you from torquing the torso, meaning moving the torso off to the side. And so, try and drop the knee down. That would be the benefit of just relax this a little. There we go. Yeah. And then now you feel it a lot more, right? That's it. You got it. And belly and lower ribs down, down. That's it. Nicely done. Nicely done, everybody. I have to tell you. Very nicely done. So you're just going to soften the body a little. Soften the body. That's it. Let that knee drop a little bit. There we go. So less becomes more. At some point, it becomes a happening, and we drop the doership. So allow the breath to lead the effort. Let it be a happening. So there's a sense of moving in stillness. There's no outward movement, but there's a lot happening inside the body. And the longer you hold the pose, the more this moves from just a physical to an organic to an energetic movement. So something that really rewrites the memories of the body. Okay, guys, let's draw both of the thighs to the chest, just to release your hips here. So just rocking from side to side. And then let's roll over to the right. Let's use the left hand and the right elbow to press you up. And we're going to set up for Viparita Karani, our final pose. So let's take the bolster and just bring it about 4 inches from the wall. And let's take the blanket so the creases of the edges are facing inwards. And let's come and sit sideways so that you can bring both of your buttocks, cheeks to the wall. Left shoulder comes down. Oops. And that's, get those hips so the sits bones are falling down behind the back of the bolster. And the elbows can be in the cactus position. So this is one of those really brilliant poses that recharges the batteries of the central nervous system. All of the fluids in the body are reversed. The head is lower than the heart. And the studies are showing that inversions reduce plaque and glutamine on an MRI in the brain. Very important for Canadians, as Canadians are the highest sufferers of autoimmune diseases like MS in the world. Regina is the hot spot. And for whatever reasons, bats and slugs, which are warm-blooded animals, live hanging upside down. They have no arthritis, no autoimmune disease. So simply inverting, bringing your legs up against the wall, can really take a moment out for your day. So let's just bring the right foot and flex your right foot, take it on top of the left thigh. Let's bend the left knee and just bring the left foot to the floor, to the wall, excuse me. So just take your left foot to the wall, right foot is flexed. So we are working toward Padmasana, and it's much easier to do it upside down. If you would like to stay here, feel free. Otherwise, let's straighten the left leg. Let's take that right heel and ankle. So we move the foot from the ankle up to the left hip. And maybe you can try and get your left foot. I haven't done this in a while. So we can cheat asana and let the feet fall slightly away. And here we are in Padmasana. So you can play with this at home. It's all about the pelvic floor. Men and women both have 3 layers in the pelvic floor. It's one of the few areas where we have a lot of similarities. So the feet are soft to keep the groin soft. We don't want to harden the groin. And when I was in Italy, it was suggested that the best thing I could do for my students would be to put them in a risk-free inversion and open the pelvic floor. And thus, this is our final pose of the day. I would highly recommend that we all as Canadians spend a minimum of 20 minutes in some sort of risk-free inversion, and bringing the legs up the wall, as I mentioned, really helps to calm the central nervous system. It recharges the batteries. So let's do the other side. Let's straighten the legs here. So as the heels reach up, the sits bones drop down behind the back to lengthen the hamstrings. So even if you're just like so, this is a wonderful thing. And then let's bring the left foot to the right thigh, flexing that left foot. Let's bring the right foot to the wall. So just preparing the hips. And then if you'd like to go a little further, straighten that right leg, and that's bring that left heel and ankle to the right hip, and see if you can take your right foot over. Feel free to open your legs out into Upavista Konasana, into a V position. Or bring your feet together into Baddha Konasana. So feel free in your home practice to linger as long as you like in any one of these poses. Just pause. Just take a moment and pause and linger. That's where the journey lives, in those moments. So we're going to start to make our way out of Viparita Kanani and come into our final rest Shavasana. Okay, so to set up for our final rest Shavasana, just take your bolster, and to release your lower back, because sometimes working on the hips can cause a little bit of aggravation for the lower back, we're going to completely support the thighs by bringing the buttocks right up to the bolster. So the sits bones are in fact tucking in and under. And then we have the blanket like so. So you can see how the sits bones are tucking ever so slightly. And the heaviest part of the thighs are supported. And the shoulders tuck in and under. And then just close the eyes now and bring the mind to the center of the forehead. The Ajna Chakra. And allow the two halves of the forehead to fall away from each other. So allow that right side to fall down and over to the right. And allow the left side of the forehead to fall down and over to the left. Softening now through the innermost corner of the eyes. Softening your eyelids. Let's go now to the innermost corner of the ears. Softening the innermost corner of the ears. This is where tension begins. Thus, ringing is contraindicated. And just allow the mind to be still now with the body. So I think we'll just allow you all to stay as long as you like. Just lingering in this place of stillness. If you feel that there is anything negative left over, whether it be a thought or an energy, just allow it to flow up and out through the Ajna Chakra, the ultimate cleanser of all that is negative. Allowing the energy to travel out through the crown of the head, leaving the body, the mind, the spirit clear of all that is negative.